The stars twisted and bent as the massive warship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Captain Minho gripped the armrest of his command chair, his knuckles white with tension. Through the massive viewing screen, he could see it, Earth, or what was left of it. The planet hung in space like a dead eye staring into the void. Where oceans should have sparkled blue, there was nothing but cracked brown stone. Where clouds should have swirled white, there was only a thin, poisonous haze of red and gray. The continents were barely recognizable, split apart by massive canyon systems that glowed faintly with residual heat from weapons that had fired 4,000 years ago. G1 stood at the tactical station, her face pale as she read the sensor data. Captain, the radiation levels are still lethal. The atmosphere is 90% carbon dioxide and sulfur compounds. Surface temperature averages 200 degrees. Nothing could survive down there. Minho felt something tight in his chest. He had grown up hearing stories about Earth, green forests, blue oceans, cities that touched the sky. His great-grandmother, so many generations back he had lost count, had been born on this world. She had escaped on a mining ship when the attack began. She had watched from space as her home burned. "This is what they did to us," Minho said quietly. His crew stood silent around him. Every human knew this story. Every child was taught what the Galactic Council had done. But seeing it actually being here in the Sol system made it real in a way that history files never could. Chief Engineer Haiyan moved to stand beside the captain's chair. He was older than Minho, with gray streaking through his black hair. "Sir, we're detecting something. An orbital structure. It's old but still operational." Minho leaned forward. "Show me." The view screen shifted. A small station appeared, floating in high orbit above Earth's corpse. It was built in the angular style of the Rheometh species, all sharp edges and red metal. Solar panels extended from it like broken wings. Weapon turrets, still active after 40 centuries, tracked their ship's movement. "It's a monitoring station," Jiwan reported. "Automated. It's been watching this system since the attack. The Council left it here to make sure we never came back." Anger flared hot in Minho's stomach. They had murdered 9 billion people, burned an entire world, and then they had posted a guard to watch the grave. "To make sure humanity stayed dead, can we take it?" Minho asked. Haiyan smiled grimly. "Their technology is 4,000 years old. Ours is 4,000 years newer." "Yes, sir. We can take it." Minho stood. "Prepare a boarding team. We're going to send the Council a message. We're going to show them that humanity remembers." 2 hours later, Minho was suited up in combat armor, riding in a small assault shuttle toward the station. With him were 8 Marines, including the tough veterans Kang and Isial. They had trained their entire lives for missions like this. Every human in the fleet had. The hidden worlds where humanity had survived were military societies. Everyone learned to fight because everyone knew that one day they would return to face the Council. The shuttle attached to the station's airlock with a magnetic clamp. Kang placed shaped charges around the door. Breaching in 3, 2, 1. The explosion was muffled in the vacuum of space. The airlock door blew inward. Kang went through first, his rifle raised. Minho followed close behind. The station's interior was dark and cold. Emergency lights cast everything in a red glow. The corridor was empty except for dust and debris floating in zero gravity. They moved quickly, heading toward the central control room, automated defense drones activated as they approached. Small machines with plasma weapons emerged from wall panels. Isil destroyed the first 3 with precise shots. Kang tossed a grenade that released an electromagnetic pulse, frying the circuits of 5 more. In less than a minute, the drones were scrap metal. They reached the control room. Haiyan, who had come with the boarding team, went straight to the main computer. His fingers flew over the alien interface. "I'm in. Give me 10 minutes to crack their security." While they waited, Minho looked around the room. There were star charts on the walls, tracking systems, communication arrays. The station had been watching. Always watching. waiting for humans to return so it could sound the alarm. Got it, Hyen said suddenly. I have full access. And Captain, you need to see this. Minho moved to the screen. What is it? The station isn't just monitoring space. It's actively suppressing something on the surface. A signal, a human signal. The entire team went still. Jiwon spoke first. That's impossible. Nothing could survive down there. Hyen shook his head. I'm reading it right here. Low power, deep underground, but it's definitely human technology. Old human technology. It's been broadcasting for thousands of years, and this station has been jamming it. Minho felt his heart start to race. Where? Surface coordinates match the old Korean peninsula. There's a structure underground. It's shielded, reinforced. It looks like some kind of bunker. Minho made his decision instantly. We're going down there. Sir, the radiation, Jiwon began. We have shielded suits. We have the coordinates. If there's even a chance that someone survived down there, we have to check. 3 hours later, a dropship descended through Earth's toxic atmosphere. Lightning cracked across red clouds. The wind howled with speeds that would have torn apart an unshielded human. But the dropship was built for worse conditions than this. It landed on a flat plain of cracked stone that had once been fertile. Farmland.Minho and his team stepped out onto Earth's surface. It was the first time humans had walked on their homeworld in 4,000 years. The ground crunched under their boots. Through his helmet, Minho could hear the wind screaming. They found the bunker entrance exactly where the coordinates said it would be. A massive metal door set into the side of a rocky hill. It was sealed, covered in warning signs in a dozen old Earth languages. The largest sign read, Arc 7 Emergency Survival Facility. Hyen worked on the door mechanism. It's a temporal stasis bunker. They built these during the first days of the attack. Desperate attempts to save people until rescue could arrive. Rescue that never came, Minho said quietly. The door groaned and began to open. Air hissed out, equalizing pressure. They descended into the bunker, their lights cutting through the darkness. Inside, they found rows of stasis pods. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. Most were dark, their power cells long dead. The people inside had died in their sleep, never knowing that no rescue would come for them, but 17 pods still had power. 17 pods still showed active life signs. Minho approached the nearest one. Through the frosted glass he could see a woman's face, young, peaceful, sleeping. Can we wake them? He asked. Hyen checked the systems. Yes, but Captain, these people have been asleep for 4,000 years. When they went into stasis, Earth was dying, but there was still hope. When they wake up, they'll learn that everyone they knew is dead, that their world is gone, that they slept through the entire history of humanity's survival. Minho touched the glass. But they'll be alive. They'll be the only living witnesses to what the Council did. Wake them. Wake them all. The first pod opened with a hiss of ancient hydraulics. The woman inside took a gasping breath. Her eyes opened. She looked up at Minho in his modern armor, at the bunker around her, confused and afraid. Where am I? Did the evacuation ships make it? Is my family safe? Minho knelt beside her pod. He removed his helmet so she could see his face. See another human face. My name is Captain Minho. You're safe now. But I need to tell you something. I need to tell you what happened to Earth. The woman's name was Yoonji. She had been a scientist, a geneticist working for the emergency government. As Minho explained everything, 4,000 years of history compressed into minutes, she began to cry. Not loud sobs, but quiet tears that ran down her face as she stared at him in disbelief. Gone? All of it, everyone? Not everyone, Minho said gently. 50,000 escaped. We survived. We rebuilt. And now we've come back. The other 16 survivors woke one by one. Each had to be told the same terrible truth. Their world was dead. Their civilization was ashes. But humanity had endured. As they prepared to leave the bunker, Sora's voice crackled over the radio from the ship in orbit. Captain, we have a problem. The station sent a distress signal before we shut it down completely. Council patrol ships are entering the system. 6 of them. They know we're here. Minho looked at Yunji and the other survivors. People from the past, displaced by time, witnesses to genocide. Get everyone to the dropship. We're leaving now. As they lifted off from Earth's dead surface, Minho watched through the window as the planet shrank behind them. The Council had tried to erase humanity. They had failed. And now, they were about to learn what happened when you left survivors. When you left witnesses. When you left enemies who had 4,000 years to prepare for revenge, the war was about to begin. The eternal vigil shook as plasma bolts streaked past its hull. 6 Council patrol ships had spread out in a wide formation, trying to surround the human vessel. Their weapons glowed with charging energy, painting the darkness of space with flashes of blue and green light. Iwan worked frantically at her station, routing power to the shields. They're trying to disable us, not destroy us. They want to capture the ship. Minho sat in his command chair, his face calm despite the chaos. In the crew quarters below, Yunji and the other 16 survivors from Earth were strapped into safety harnesses, terrified and confused. They had woken from 4,000 years of sleep only to find themselves in a space battle. Haiyan, how long until the slip drive is ready? Minho asked. The engineer's hands flew across his controls. 2 minutes. But Captain, if we jump now while it's not fully charged, we might tear the ship apart. Better than letting the Council take us, Minho turned to Jiwan. Fire weapons. Show them what 4,000 years of development looks like. Yuan smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. With pleasure, sir. The Eternal Vigil's point defense system activated. Unlike the energy weapons the Council ships used, humanity had perfected railgun technology. Magnetic accelerators launched solid projectiles at nearly the speed of light. There was no warning flash, no charge-up time. Just instant, devastating kinetic strikes. 3 Council ships exploded in rapid succession. Their shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, did nothing against solid matter traveling at relativistic speeds. The other 3 ships immediately broke formation and began to retreat. Don't let them escape, Minho ordered. If they report back that we have advanced weapons, the Council will send heavier ships. But before Jiwan could fire again, Minho held up his hand. Wait, I have a better idea. Haiyan, open a communication channel. All Council frequencies. I want everyone to hear this. A moment later, Minho was broadcasting across space. His image would appear on every Council ship, every Council station, every Council world that was monitoring this sector. 4,000 years ago, the Galactic Council murdered my world. You killed 9 billion innocent people. Men, women, children. You burned our cities. You boiled our oceans. You cracked our planet's crust. You did this without warning, without trial, without mercy. You thought you had erased us? You thought humanity was extinct? Minho stood and the camera followed him. Behind him, Yunji appeared. She looked directly into the camera, her eyes still red from crying, but her voice steady. My name is Dr. Yunji. I was born on Earth in the year 2024. I am 4,000 years old. I saw my world die. I watched the sky burn. I heard the screams of billions as your weapons tore apart the only home we had ever known. I am a witness to your genocide, and I am not alone. The camera panned to show the other 16 survivors standing with her. Minho spoke again. Humanity survived. We rebuilt. We prepared. And now we have returned. This message is for the Council. We are coming. We will have justice for what you did. You cannot hide from us. You cannot escape us. Humanity remembers. Humanity endures. And humanity will have its answer for the blood of 9 billion souls. He cut the transmission. The 3 remaining Council ships were already fleeing at maximum speed. Minho let them go. Sir, that message is going to reach every corner of the galaxy, Viwan said. The Council will know we survived. They'll know we have advanced technology. They'll prepare for a war. Good, Minho said. Let them prepare. Let them be afraid. They should be. The Eternal Vigil jumped away from the Sol system, vanishing into slip space. Behind them, Earth hung silent and dead. But its story was finally being told. Across the galaxy, in the crystal towers of the Council headquarters on the Riameth homeworld, chaos erupted. The message played on every screen. The faces of the 17 Earth survivors stared out at the assembled representatives of 12 alien species. High Chancellor Vexmar watched the broadcast with cold reptilian eyes. He was old, even by the standards of his long-lived species. He had been present when the order to destroy Earth was given. He remembered the debates, the arguments, the final vote. "This is impossible," said Ambassador Telsher of the Thomases, his aquatic body floating in a tank of water. "The records clearly state that humanity was completely destroyed. No survivors. No escape ships made it out." "Clearly the records were wrong," Vexmar said. His voice was like gravel scraping on stone. "We face a new threat. A species that has had 4 millennia to nurture its hatred of us. A species with advanced military technology. This cannot be allowed to continue. What do you propose?" asked the Vila representative, its insectoid mandibles clicking nervously. "We finish what we started," Vexmar said. "We dispatch the 4th Fleet, we find where these survivors have been hiding, and this time we ensure complete extermination. No survivors. No witnesses. No one left to tell the story." Telsher's translator unit crackled with emotion. "You would commit genocide again? Have we learned nothing? Perhaps we should attempt negotiation. The humans said they want justice, not conquest. Perhaps if we acknowledge what was done, if we offer reparations—" Vexmar's clawed fist slammed on the table. "You would negotiate with vermin? They are expansionists, warmongers, too dangerous to coexist with civilized species. We gave them mercy once with quick deaths. Now we give them nothing but oblivion." The council chamber erupted in argument. Some species supported Vexmar's position. Others argued for caution, for diplomacy. But in the end, the vote was clear. The 4th Fleet would be dispatched to hunt down and eliminate the human threat. Meanwhile, the Eternal Vigil had returned to the hidden worlds. These 7 massive habitats hung in the darkness between stars, concealed in nebulae and rogue planetary systems where council sensors could never find them. Each one was home to billions of humans, descendants of the 50,000 survivors who had fled Earth's destruction. Captain Minho stood before the Council of Captains, the military leaders who commanded humanity's forces. He had delivered his report. He had shown them the footage of dead Earth. He had introduced them to Yunji and the other survivors. Living proof of the Council's crimes, Admiral Taijin, the Supreme Commander, was a woman in her 60s with scars on her face from a lifetime of military service. She listened to everything in silence. When Minho finished, she stood. "For 4,000 years we have prepared for this moment. Our ancestors fled into the darkness. They built these worlds. They raised children and taught them to never forget. Every generation has added to our strength, to our technology, to our determination. The Council thought they killed us. They were wrong." She turned to address the assembled captains. "We launch Operation Reckoning. All fleet assets are to be activated. All personnel are to report to battle stations. We will strike the Council worlds. We will force them to answer for their crimes. But we will do this the right way. We are not murderers. We do not slaughter civilians. We will be better than they were." Across the hidden worlds, massive shipyards opened. Docks that had been concealed for millennia revealed themselves. Hundreds of warships emerged, each one built with a single purpose. These were not exploration vessels. These were weapons of war. Designed by people who had grown up on stories of green hills and blue skies they would never see because of the Council's cruelty. Yunji stood on the observation deck of the Eternal Vigil, watching the fleet assemble. Beside her was a young woman named Yuna, a fighter pilot who had volunteered to help the Earth survivors adjust to this strange future. "It's beautiful," Yunji said, looking at the ships. Terrible, but beautiful. My great-grandmother was one of the original survivors, Una said quietly. She was just a child when Earth died. She used to tell me stories about rain. Real rain falling from clouds. I've never seen that. None of us have. The hidden worlds are climate-controlled habitats. Rain is just something we read about in history files. Yunji felt tears on her face again. I remember rain. I remember standing in it, feeling it on my skin. I remember thinking it was annoying because it would mess up my hair. She laughed bitterly. Such a small thing. I'd give anything to feel rain one more time. Una took her hand. Maybe one day. They say the terraforming technology exists to restore Earth. It would take centuries. But it's possible. After we win this war, Yunji said. After we win, Una agreed. Minho found them there an hour later. He had news. Dr. Yunji, the Council of Captains, has asked to speak with you. All 17 of you. They want your testimony. They want to know exactly what happened during Earth's final days. Yunji nodded. She had known this would come. She and the other 16 survivors spent the next week giving detailed accounts of the attack. They described the panic, the fear, the desperate attempts to evacuate. They explained how the Council ships had appeared without warning, how the bombardment began before Earth's defense forces could even respond. They told of biological weapons that turned the air toxic, of atmospheric igniters that set the sky on fire, of tectonic destabilizers that caused earthquakes across entire continents. The attack had not been quick or merciful. It had been systematic extermination, designed to ensure that nothing could survive. When they finished, there was not a dry eye in the council chamber. Even the hardest soldiers, veterans of countless battles, wept openly. Admiral Taijin addressed the survivors. Your testimony will be recorded. It will be broadcast across the galaxy. The council will not be able to hide from the truth of what they did. But first, we must force them to the negotiating table. And that means we must hurt them. We must make them feel the fear that you felt. She turned to her officers. We will strike 144 colony worlds. 12 colonies for each of the 12 council. Species that participated in Earth's destruction. We will not kill civilians. We will give them time to evacuate. But we will take those worlds from them. We will make them refugees, just as they made us refugees. The battle plan was revealed. It was complex, requiring perfect coordination across dozens of star systems. But humanity had trained for this. They were ready. As the fleet prepared to jump into council space, Minho found Yunji on the observation deck again. You don't have to come, he said. You've been through enough. You could stay here where it's safe. Yunji shook her head. I was there when Earth died. I should be there when we get justice for it. Besides, you might need me. I remember what the council was like before the attack. I remember their politicians, their propaganda. I can help you understand them. Minho smiled. Then welcome to the crew, Dr. Yunji. Let's go make history. The human fleet jumped away from the hidden worlds, heading into council space. Behind them, families said goodbye to loved ones. Children too young to fight watched their parents leave, knowing some might never return, but in every heart burned the same fire. The same determination. The council had thought they could erase humanity with fire and death. They were about to learn the truth. You cannot kill an idea. You cannot destroy a people's will to survive. And you cannot escape the consequences of genocide. The war had begun. The Velar, colony world of Velar Prime, shimmered in its sun's golden light. It was a beautiful planet with crystalline forests and vast hive cities that housed millions of the insectoid species. For 3,000 years, it had been a center of Velar culture and commerce. It was one of their most important worlds, second only to their homeworld itself. In orbit, 45 Velar warships patrolled in lazy patterns. The Council had increased security on all colony worlds after the human broadcast, but no one really believed the threat was serious. Humanity had one ship, maybe a few thousand survivors. What could they possibly do against the might of the Galactic Council? They were about to find out. Space itself seemed to tear open as 17 human warships dropped out of slipspace. They appeared in perfect formation, their weapons already charged and targeting solutions locked. The Velar ships scrambled to respond, but they were too slow. They had been expecting a small raid, not a full battle fleet. N. INHO stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vigil, watching the tactical display. All ships, fire at will. Destroy their military vessels. Remember, no strikes on the planet itself. The human fleet opened fire. Railguns hurled projectiles at near-light speed. Graviton missiles, weapons that created micro-black holes on impact, streaked through space. The Velar ships tried to return fire, but their energy shields were useless against kinetic weapons. Their plasma cannons were too slow to track the fast-moving human projectiles. In less than an hour, the entire Velar defense fleet was destroyed. Burning wreckage tumbled through orbit. Escape pods launched from dying ships, and true to their word, the human fleet did not fire on them. They let the survivors flee. Jawan turned from her station. "Sir, we're being hailed from the planet." "It's the planetary governor." "Put them through," Minho said. The view screen showed a Velar, its insectoid features trembling with fear. Its compound eyes reflected the burning ships above its world. "Please, don't destroy us. We have civilians here, families, children." Minho's voice was hard but not cruel. "We know. That's why I'm giving you a warning. You have 72 hours to evacuate this planet. Anyone who remains after that deadline will die when we begin bombardment. But we will not fire on evacuation ships. We will not hunt refugees. Leave your world, and you will live. Why are you doing this?" The governor asked, its voice breaking. "Because 4,000 years ago, your species voted to destroy Earth. You killed 9 billion of our people. You never gave them a warning. You never gave them a chance to evacuate. But we are not you. We do not murder innocents. You have 72 hours. Minho cut the transmission. On the surface of Velar Prime, panic erupted. Millions of Velar citizens rushed to spaceports. Every ship that could fly was pressed into service. The skies filled with vessels of every size and shape, all desperately trying to escape before the human deadline, and true to his word, Minho ordered the fleet to maintain safe corridors. Human ships escorted the refugee convoys to the edge of the system, ensuring no one was left behind to die in an accident or equipment failure. Yunji stood beside Minho, watching it all. "You're letting them go. All of them." "This isn't about revenge," Minho said. "It's about justice. The Council needs to answer for what they did, but their civilians don't need to die for the crimes of their leaders. We're better than that." High Chancellor Vexmar watched the evacuation of Velar Prime from his office on the Riameth homeworld. His clawed hands gripped the edge of his desk hard enough to leave marks in the metal. "This is a disaster," he hissed. "The humans are making us look weak. They destroy our fleets and then they spare the civilians. They're painting themselves as the moral victors." His advisor, a younger Riameth named Kelvar, stood nervously nearby. "The propaganda networks are in chaos, Chancellor. The refugees from Velar Prime are broadcasting their stories. They say the humans protected them. They say the humans could have killed everyone but chose mercy. People are asking questions about Earth, about what really happened 4,000 years ago." Vexmar slammed his fist on the desk. "I don't care what the people think. We must stop these humans before they destroy our credibility completely. Where is the Fourth Fleet?" "En route to the coordinates where the human ship was detected. But Chancellor, the humans are hitting targets across multiple sectors. They're not operating from a single location. They seem to have multiple bases, multiple fleets." "Then we hunt them all down," Vexmar said. "Send word to all Council species. Full military mobilization. We will crush this insurrection." But the human attacks continued. Over the next 3 months, Minho's fleet struck 11 more colony worlds. Each time, the pattern was the same. Overwhelming military victory, forced evacuation, no civilian casualties. The economic and psychological damage to the Council was enormous. Planets that had taken centuries to colonize. were abandoned in days. Trillions of credits and infrastructure were left behind. Entire industries collapsed. And through it all, the refugees told their stories. Stories of human warriors who fought with deadly efficiency, but showed mercy when the fighting was done. The Council's propaganda tried to spin the attacks as proof of human barbarism, but it wasn't working. The refugees knew the truth. The humans had given them something the Council never gave Earth. They had given them a chance to live on the eternal vigil. Yunji worked with the communications team to prepare broadcasts. She and the other 16 Earth survivors recorded their testimonies, describing in detail what the Council had done. These recordings were transmitted to every Council world, to every news network, to every corner of the galaxy. The effect was powerful. Millions of Council citizens saw the faces of genocide survivors. They heard first-hand accounts of the attack. They learned that the official story, the one that said humanity was a dangerous threat that needed to be eliminated, was built on lies. 5 Council species publicly called for investigations into the Earth attack. The Thomas's ambassador Telsher gave a speech in the Council chambers, demanding accountability. We were told that humanity was destroyed because they were too dangerous to coexist with civilized species. But look at what they do now. They could exterminate our colonies. They could slaughter our civilians. But they don't. They show restraint. They show honor. What does that say about the decision to destroy Earth? Vexmar tried to silence him, but the damage was done. Doubt was spreading through Council space like a virus. Then came the betrayal. A young human named Jay served on one of the support vessels in the fleet. He was a navigation specialist, born in the hidden worlds, trained from childhood for military service. He was loyal, dedicated, and trusted. He was also a sleeper agent years ago. During a raid on a Council research station, Jay had been captured. The Council's psionic specialists had worked on him for months, implanting false memories and trigger commands. Then they had arranged for him to escape. Knowing he would return to the human fleet as a hero, they had waited for the right moment to activate him. That moment came when Vexmar broadcast the trigger phrase across all frequencies during a routine communication. Jay's eyes went blank. His true programming surfaced. He walked calmly to a secure terminal and accessed the navigation database. Within minutes, he had the coordinates of all 7 hidden worlds. He transmitted them to a Council spy ship lurking at the edge of the system. Security Officer Isil found him at the terminal. "Jay, what are you doing?" "That's classified data." Jay turned to her with empty eyes. "Fulfilling my purpose." He drew a weapon. Isil dove for cover as plasma bolts scorched the air where she had been standing. She triggered the alarm as she returned fire. Security breach. Navigation section. Armed hostile. Marines converged on the location, but Jay had already transmitted the data. He fought like a man possessed, taking down 3 Marines before Kang shot him with a stun round. As Jay collapsed, his last words were, "The Council knows. They're coming." Admiral Taijing received the report aboard her flagship. Her face went pale. "They have the coordinates to all 7 hidden worlds. They know where our civilians are, where our children are." She immediately ordered the fleet to return home, but they were scattered across Council space, weeks away from the hidden worlds. Meanwhile, Council sensors confirmed the worst. A massive armada was forming at the galactic core. 500 warships under Vexmar's personal command, and they weren't coming to fight. They were coming with something worse. Intelligence reports revealed that the Council had authorized the use of the Extinction Protocol, a weapon so terrible it had been banned for 10,000 years. It was a device that could sterilize entire regions of space, destroying all organic life within light years. It had been used only once before, against a species called the Vertesh, who had threatened to consume the galaxy. The Council had decided to use it on the hidden worlds. They would eliminate humanity completely this time. No survivors. No witnesses. No one left to tell the story. Commander Yuna, in charge of the Home Defense Fleet, received the warning. She had 20 ships and a handful of defensive platforms to protect 7 worlds with billions of civilians. Against 500 Council warships and an Extinction Protocol device, It was hopeless. She began emergency evacuations anyway. Civilian transports launched from all 7 hidden worlds, heading to deeper hiding places in uncharted space. But there were too many people and too little time. At best, they could save a few million. The rest would have to stay and fight. Minho made a desperate decision. The Eternal Vigil and 5 other ships would jump directly into the Council Armada's path. They would delay the enemy, buy time for the evacuations, even if it meant their own deaths. Ungi found him in his quarters as he prepared for the mission. "This is suicide," she said. "I know," Minho replied. "But someone has to slow them down. Every minute we buy is 1,000 more children who make it to the evacuation ships. Then I'm coming with you." "Yungji, you don't have to. I was born on Earth. I should have died with Earth. If I die buying time for humanity's children, that's a good death." She smiled sadly. "Besides, you'll need a scientist. Someone has to figure out how to disable that weapon if we get close enough." Minho nodded. "Thank you." The 6 human ships jumped away, heading to intercept the Council Armada. They were outnumbered nearly 100 to 1. Their chances of survival were almost 0, but they were going anyway. Because that's what humans did. They fought impossible odds. They refused to surrender. They endured. As the Eternal Vigil raced toward its final battle, sensors detected something strange. Unknown ships were appearing on the edge of the system. Massive vessels bigger than anything in either the human or council fleets. Jaiwan stared at her screen in confusion. "Sir, I'm picking up 12 unknown contacts." "They're enormous. They're broadcasting on old human frequencies. Codes that haven't been used in over 4,000 years. What?" Minho moved to her station. The transmission came through, crackling with age and distance. A human voice, speaking with an accent that hadn't been heard since before Earth's fall. "This is Admiral Suyuk of the Lost Expedition. We're home. And it looks like we're just in time." The 12 massive ships hung in space like sleeping giants. Each one was the size of a small moon, their hulls marked with human writing in styles that predated Earth's destruction. They were colony ships, built for a mission that should have taken centuries. Admiral Suyuk's weathered face appeared on the Eternal Vigil's view screen. He looked to be in his 50s, with gray streaking through his black hair and deep lines around his eyes. Those eyes held sadness that seemed to weigh on his entire body. "We left Earth 4,200 years ago," he said quietly. "We were the Lost Expedition. 12 colony ships carrying 50,000 people to establish humanity's first extragalactic settlement. We traveled at near-light speed, so for us only 30 years have passed. We succeeded. We built a new world. We came back to share our success with Earth." He paused, his voice breaking. "Instead, we found only silence. No transmissions? No signals, nothing. We followed what few traces we could find and learned the truth. We learned what the Council did. We learned that our home is dead." Minho felt a lump in his throat. "Admiral Suyuk, we thought your expedition was lost. The record said you never reported back. We sent messages, but we were too far away. By the time our signals would have reached Earth, Earth was already gone." Suyuk's hands clenched into fists. "We've been traveling for weeks, following human transmissions, trying to find survivors. We found your broadcasts. We saw the footage of Earth's ruins. We saw your war with the Council. And we decided if humanity is fighting for justice, then we will fight too. How many people do you have?" Minho asked. "Each colony ship carries 5,000. 60,000 total. But more importantly, we've had 30 years of isolated development. Our technology went in different directions than yours. We have weapons that the Council has never seen before." On High Chancellor Vexmar's flagship at the head of the Council Armada, panic spread through the bridge. The sudden appearance of 12 unknown vessels had thrown their entire battle plan into chaos. "What are those things?" Vexmar demanded. "Are they more human ships?" His tactical officer studied the scans. "Yes, Chancellor. They're broadcasting human identification codes. Old codes from before the Earth Purge. Their design is ancient, but the energy signatures are enormous. Each one of those ships has firepower comparable to 20 of our dreadnoughts. Vexmar's eyes narrowed. It doesn't matter. We have 500 ships and the extinction protocol. Nothing can stop us. All vessels, continue toward the hidden worlds. Deploy the weapon the moment we're in range. But the Lost Expedition's ships had other plans. They positioned themselves directly between the Council Armada and the hidden worlds. Forming a defensive wall, Admiral Suyuk opened a channel to all ships, both human and Council. This is Admiral Suyuk of the Lost Expedition. Council forces, you will not pass. You tried to exterminate humanity once. You failed. You will not get a second chance. Turn back now, or face the consequences. Vexmar laughed. It was a cold, harsh sound. You think 12 ships can stop 500? You humans never learn. You're insects pretending to be gods. Today you all die. Forever this time. Then let me show you what insects can do, Suyuk said quietly. The Lost Expedition ships opened fire. But these weren't railguns or missiles. These were weapons built from 30 years of isolated research in another galaxy. Zero-point energy cannons that tore holes in reality itself. Artificial singularity missiles that created miniature black holes on impact. The first wave of Council ships simply ceased to exist. 20 dreadnoughts vanished in flashes of light so bright they scorched sensor arrays. Another 30 were torn apart by gravity fields that twisted their hulls into impossible shapes. The Council Armada recoiled in shock. They had never seen weapons like this. Their shields, their armor, their tactics, all were useless against technology that worked on principles they didn't understand. Vexmar screamed orders. All ships spread out. Concentrate fire on those vessels. Get me close to the hidden worlds. We just need to deploy the extinction protocol. His flagship, a massive vessel called the Judgment, pushed through the battle. It was heavily armored, designed to withstand tremendous damage. Dozens of Council ships formed a protective screen around it, sacrificing themselves to get their Chancellor close enough to deploy the terrible weapon. Minho saw what was happening. He's making a run for it. Yuan, intercept course. We can't let him reach the hidden worlds. The Eternal Vigil's slip drive was still overcharged from their emergency jump to get here. Engineer Haiyan warned against using it. Captain, if we jump now, there's a 70% chance the drive will explode. We could lose the ship. If we don't jump, billions die. Charge the drive. The Eternal Vigil vanished in a flash of twisted space and reappeared directly in front of the Judgment. The two ships were so close that their shields touched, crackling with energy. Minho gave the order without hesitation, ram them. The Eternal Vigil's engines burned at maximum power. The ship surged forward, slamming into the Judgment's hull. Metal screamed. Armor crumpled. Both vessels spun through space, locked together by the force of impact. On the bridge, crew members were thrown from their stations. Alarms blared. Haiyan reported massive damage. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. Slip drive is offline. Weapon systems failing. But the collision had done its job. The Judgment was damaged, its forward momentum stopped. More importantly, the protective screen of Council ships had been scattered by the impact. Minho pulled himself back into his command chair, blood running from a cut on his forehead. Jiwan, prepare boarding teams. We're going over there. We're going to stop that weapon personally. Minutes later, Minho led a team of Marines across the twisted wreckage between the two ships. They moved through the vacuum in combat armor, magnetic boots keeping them attached to the hull. Kong and Izil flanked him, their weapons ready. They cut through the Judgment's hull and entered the ship. Inside was chaos. Riameth crew members scrambled to contain hull breaches and fight fires. They barely noticed the human boarding team until it was too late. The Marines moved fast, following blueprints that intelligence had pieced together from stolen Council data. They fought through corridors, exchanging fire with Riameth security forces. Izil took a plasma bolt to the shoulder but kept fighting. Kong cleared a room single-handedly, his enhanced reflexes making him faster than the reptilian soldiers could track. They reached the weapon chamber. It was a massive room at the heart of the ship, filled with machinery that hummed with barely contained energy. At the center was a spherical device covered in warning symbols, the extinction protocol, and standing before it was High Chancellor Vexmar himself, the ancient. Riameth held a control device in his clawed hand. His eyes, cold and reptilian, fixed on Minho. "You're too late, human. The weapon is armed. In 60 seconds, it will activate. Everything within 10 light years will die. Your hidden worlds, your people, your children, all will be sterilized. Humanity will be nothing but ash and memory." Minho raised his weapon. "Then I'll kill you and disable the weapon." "You can't disable it. It's locked to my biosignature. If I die, it detonates immediately." Vexmar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "So here's your choice, Captain. Shoot me and everyone dies now. Or don't shoot me and everyone dies in 60 seconds. Either way, humanity ends today." Yunji stepped forward from behind Minho. She had followed the boarding team, insisting that her scientific knowledge might be needed. Now she looked at the weapon with eyes that had spent years studying complex systems. "He's lying," she said. "Look at the control panel. Those are manual override switches. The biosignature lock is just a bluff." Vexmar's expression flickered. "You know nothing about our technology, human. I know engineering when I see it, and I know liars when I hear them." Unji moved toward the weapon. Vexmar swung the control device toward her. "Stop or I activate it now." Minho fired. Not at Vexmar, but at the control device. The shot was perfect, guided by reflexes honed through years of training. The device exploded in Vexmar's hand, taking 2 of his fingers with it. The Chancellor screamed in pain and rage. Before he could recover, Isiel shot him in the leg with a stun round. Vexmar collapsed, his body convulsing. Yunji reached the weapon. Her hands flew over the controls, reading displays in alien language, but understanding the mathematical principles beneath. "It's a cascade reaction. It's already started. I can't just turn it off. Can you stop it?" Minho asked. "Maybe, if I can interrupt the power flow at exactly the right moment. But I need precise timing. I need to know exactly when the cascade reaches critical point." Hyan's voice came over the radio from the Eternal Vigil. "Dr. Yunji, I'm reading the energy signatures from here. I can calculate the timing. But you'll have less than a second to act. If you're early or late, it won't work." "Then we'd better get it right," Yunji said. She positioned her hands over 2 switches. "Ready when you are." Outside the ship, the battle raged. The Lost Expedition was methodically destroying the Council Armada, but there were so many enemy ships. Some had broken through the defensive line and were approaching the hidden worlds. The Home Defense Fleet, commanded by Yuna, fought desperately to hold them back on one of the hidden worlds. In a shelter deep underground, families huddled together. Parents held their children. Teachers comforted students. Everyone knew the battle was happening above them. Everyone knew they might have only minutes to live. A young girl named Hannah clutched a small plant in a pot. It was a sapling grown from a seed that had been preserved from Earth. Her teacher had given it to her as a project. "Take care of it," the teacher had said. "One day we'll plant it on Earth again." Hannah whispered to the plant. "Please let them win. Please let us live." Back on the Judgment, Yunji waited. Sweat ran down her face despite the cold. The weapon hummed louder, building toward activation. Hyen counted down over the radio. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now. Yunji pulled both switches simultaneously. The weapon's hum changed pitch, rising to a scream. For a horrible moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like shattering glass, the energy cascade collapsed. The sphere went dark. The extinction protocol was dead. Yunji collapsed against the control panel, her legs too weak to hold her. Minho caught her. "You did it. You saved them all." On the bridge of Admiral Suyuk's flagship, the sensors confirmed it. The weapon was inactive. The threat was neutralized. He opened a channel to all Council ships. "This is Admiral Suyuk. Your weapon has failed. Your Chancellor is captured. You have lost. Any ship that continues to fight will be destroyed. Those who surrender will be allowed to leave unharmed. Choose now. One by one, Council ships powered down their weapons. The will to fight had broken. Without Vexmar's fanatical leadership, without the extinction protocol, they saw no point in dying for a lost cause. The battle was over. Humanity had won. 3 months after the battle, a strange procession of ships approached the Sol system. Human vessels and council vessels flying together under a flag of truce. At their center was a prison transport carrying High Chancellor Vexmar and 17 other Riameth officials who had ordered Earth's destruction. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vigil, watching as Earth came into view. The dead planet hung in space, silent and accusing. Behind it, construction vessels from the Lost Expedition were already beginning preliminary work, mapping the damage, planning for the centuries-long restoration that would one day bring life back to this world. "It's fitting," said Yunji, standing beside him, "that he should be judged here, where he committed his crime." On the surface, in a valley that had once been part of the Korean peninsula, a temporary structure had been built. It was a courtroom, open to the poisoned sky, surrounded by viewing platforms for representatives from across the galaxy. Billions would watch this trial through broadcasts. The entire galaxy needed to see justice done. Admiral Taijin presided as chief judge. Beside her sat representatives from 5 council species who had voted against Earth's destruction and had provided evidence for the trial. The Thomas's ambassador Telsher was among them, his water tank positioned at the judge's bench. The accused were brought in under guard. Vexmar walked with his head high, refusing to show fear or remorse. His reptilian eyes swept the courtroom with contempt. The charges were read: genocide, crimes against sapient life, systematic extermination of a sentient species. The evidence was overwhelming. Recorded orders, weapon deployment logs, communications between council members discussing the attack. And most damning of all, the testimony of survivors. Eung took the stand first. She spoke calmly, describing the day the attack began. She had been in her laboratory when the alarm sounded. She had watched through a window as the sky turned red. She had felt the ground shake as tectonic weapons tore continents apart. She had seen people running, screaming, burning. "They gave us no warning," she said. "No chance to surrender. No offer of peace. They just started killing us. Men, women, children. It didn't matter. We all died the same." The other 16 survivors from Arc 7 testified next. Each told their story. Each described the horror. Each looked directly at Vexmar as they spoke. Then came the evidence from council records. A Velar historian had uncovered the original intelligence assessments of humanity. The reports showed that humanity had been aggressive, yes, but no more so than any young spacefaring species. The Riameth had manipulated the data, exaggerated the threat, pushed the other council species into supporting the attack. Telsher provided testimony that the decision had been political, not based on genuine security concerns. The Riameth feared human advancement. In 200 years, humanity had achieved what took most species 2,000. The Riameth saw them as future rivals and eliminated them while they were still weak. It was murder dressed up as prevention. When all the evidence had been presented, Vexmar was allowed to speak in his own defense. He stood at the defendant's platform, his damaged hand wrapped in bandages from where Minho had shot the control device. "I regret nothing," he said. His voice echoed across the silent courtroom. Humanity was dangerous. They were expansionists, warmongers. Look at what they've done since returning. They've attacked our colonies, destroyed our ships. Admiral Taijin cut him off. They attacked military targets. They evacuated civilians. They showed more mercy in war than you showed in peace. Continue. Vexmar's eyes blazed with anger. You think you're better than us? You're no different. You would have done the same in our position. No, said Yunji, standing from the witness area. We wouldn't have. Because we're not afraid of competition. We're not afraid of other species being as good as we are. You killed us because you were weak, not because we were dangerous. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Every piece of evidence was examined. Every argument was heard. And in the end, the verdict was unanimous, guilty on all counts. The sentence was debated. Some argued for execution, others for imprisonment. But it was Minho who proposed the final punishment, and the judges agreed. High Chancellor Vexmar, Admiral Taijin announced, you are sentenced to life imprisonment on Earth's surface. You will be confined to a habitat dome built over the ruins of the city that was once called Seoul. You will spend the rest of your days looking at what you destroyed. You will watch as humanity slowly rebuilds what you tried to erase, and you will know that you failed. Vexmar's face contorted with rage. You can't do this. I am a council leader. I demand to be treated according to galactic law. You destroyed an entire world, Taijin said coldly. You forfeited your rights to any consideration. Take him away. The other 17 Riameth officials received similar sentences, each assigned to different locations on Earth's surface, each forced to witness the slow restoration of the planet they had murdered. But the trial was only part of the story. The real change came in what happened next. The Galactic Council was dissolved. Its authority had been built on trust and cooperation, and both had been destroyed by the revelation of what had been done to Earth in its place. A new organization was formed, the Galactic Assembly. Every species, including humanity, had equal representation. No single species could dominate. Decisions required consensus. And most importantly, there were new laws. Laws against genocide, laws against systematic extermination, laws that made what happened to Earth illegal beyond any doubt. Humanity was granted massive reparations, resources for rebuilding Earth, territory rights to the hidden worlds, access to council technology and trade routes. But more than material compensation, they received something else: recognition, acknowledgement, an apology. Not all council species apologized. The Riameth remained defiant, their new government refusing to admit wrongdoing. But 6 of the 12 species that had participated in the attack issued formal apologies. The Velar went further, offering assistance with Earth's restoration as penance for their role. Admiral Sushuk and the Lost Expedition chose to stay. They had found a new world, yes, but Earth was their origin. They wanted to help rebuild it. The 60,000 people from the Lost Expedition merged with the populations of the hidden worlds. After 4,000 years of separation, humanity was reunified, but reunification wasn't always easy. The Lost Expedition's culture had evolved differently. They had different customs, different beliefs, different ways of doing things. There were conflicts, misunderstandings, arguments about the right path forward. It was Yunji who helped bridge the gaps. She was old enough to remember Earth before the separation. She could speak to both groups with authority. She became an ambassador between the past and future, helping humanity find common ground. The work of restoring Earth began in earnest. Terraforming ships from a dozen species arrived to assist. The process would take 500 years at minimum, perhaps 1,000. But it would happen. The first step was stabilizing the atmosphere. Massive processors were deployed to convert the toxic gases back into breathable air. Comets were diverted to provide water for new oceans. Genetic samples preserved from before the attack were used to begin regrowing plant life in controlled domes. Minho retired from the military and took charge of the restoration project. He spent his days coordinating with engineers, scientists, and volunteers from across the galaxy. He spent his nights looking at the progress reports, watching as tiny patches of green began to spread across the brown wasteland. Jian and Haiyan both joined him. Guan managed logistics, ensuring supplies reached the right places at the right times. Haiyan led the engineering teams, solving the countless technical challenges of rebuilding a world. Yunji returned to her original field, genetics. She worked with samples of Earth's original ecosystem, studying how to best restore biodiversity. She worked alongside scientists from the Thomases and Velar. Species who had once voted to destroy her world but now sought to repair it. One day, 5 years after the trial, Yunji stood in the first successful outdoor garden. It was small, only 100 meters on each side, but it was real. Real soil, real air. Real plants growing under Earth's sun for the first time in 4,000 years. She knelt and touched the grass. It was green and soft and alive. Tears ran down her face. She had never thought she would feel grass again. She had thought that sensation was lost forever. "It's beautiful," said a young voice. Yunji looked up to see Hana, the little girl from the hidden worlds. She was 10 years old now, and she held a small tree sapling carefully in her hands. It was the one she had protected during the battle, grown from a seed preserved from old Earth. "Can we plant it here?" Hana asked. Yunji smiled through her tears. "Yes, let's plant it together." They dug a hole in the soft earth. Hana placed the sapling carefully, and together they covered its roots with soil. Yunji showed her how to water it, how to ensure it had the best chance to grow. "One day," Yunji said, "this whole planet will be covered with trees like this. Forests and fields and gardens. It will be green again. Will you be alive to see it?" Hana asked with a child's blunt honesty. Yunji shook her head. "No, this will take centuries. But you might live to see the beginning. And your children will see more. And their children after them will see Earth bloom again." They stood together, looking at the single small tree standing in the garden, a symbol of hope in a wasteland dot on the observation platform above Earth. Admiral Taija met with Admiral Suyuk and the other human leaders. They were planning the future. Not just Earth's future, but humanity's future in the galaxy. "We need to decide what kind of species we want to be," Taijin said. "The Council feared us because they thought we would become conquerors. We have the chance now to prove them wrong, or prove them right." Suyuk spoke carefully. "We should be explorers again. Builders, we should reach out with open hands, not clenched fists. We should show the galaxy that we can be trusted. But we also need to be strong," added Minho, who had joined the meeting. "We can't let this happen again. We need a fleet, defenses. We need to ensure that no species ever thinks they can attack humanity without consequences." "Both things can be true," Yunji said. She had been invited to the meeting as an advisor. "We can be peaceful and strong. We can be builders and warriors. We don't have to choose one path. We can be complex. We can be human." The Council agreed. Humanity would maintain its military, but it would also invest heavily in science, exploration, and diplomacy. They would build ships for war, but also ships for discovery. They would be ready to defend themselves, but they would not seek to dominate others. 20 years after the trial, the first ocean was successfully restored to Earth. It was small, just a tenth the size of the old Pacific, but it was there. Water lapped against newly formed shores. The first fish, bred from preserved genetic material, swam in its depths. 50 years after the trial, the first forest covered 100 square kilometers. Birds flew through its branches. Insects buzzed among flowers. Deer grazed in clearings. Earth was coming back to life. Minho was an old man by then, his hair completely white. Yunji was ancient by any standard, kept alive by advanced medical technology, but knowing her time was limited. They stood together on a hill overlooking the forest, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. "We did it," Minho said. "We got justice. We got recognition. We're rebuilding." "Yes," Yunji agreed. "But the work isn't done. It will never be done. Each generation will have to choose what kind of people they want to be. Will they remember what happened here? Will they learn from it? Or will they repeat the mistakes of the past?" "I think they'll remember," Minho said. "How could they forget? We have 17 people who lived through Earth's death. We have recordings, testimonies, evidence. The story is preserved. Stories can be forgotten," Yunji said softly. "Or twisted. Or simplified until they lose their meaning. That's why we have to keep telling it. Keep teaching it. Keep making sure that every human child knows what happened here and why it must never happen again." They stood in silence, watching the sky darken and the first stars appear. Somewhere up there were the hidden worlds, now bustling centers of human civilization. Somewhere up there was the Lost Expedition's extragalactic colony, still thriving in its distant galaxy. Somewhere up there was a future being written by a species that had survived extinction. Yunji died peacefully in her sleep 6 months later. She was 4,097 years old. Her funeral was attended by representatives from 50 species. She was buried on Earth in the soil she had helped restore, under a tree that had grown from seeds she had preserved. The other 16 survivors from Arc 7 followed her over the next decade. One by one, the last living witnesses to Earth's death passed away. But their testimonies remained. Their stories were taught in every school. Their memories lived on, 100 years after the trial. Earth's restoration had progressed to the point where small groups of humans could live on the surface, without habitat domes in certain regions. The first permanent settlement was established in what had been Korea. It was named New Seoul, and at its center was a memorial garden dedicated to the 9 billion who had died. In that garden stood a statue of Yunji, holding the hand of young Hana. Around them, cherry trees bloomed, grown from the sapling that Hana had protected during the battle. Every spring, their pink blossoms filled the air with color and fragrance. Hana, now an old woman herself, came to the memorial every year on the anniversary of Earth's fall. She brought her grandchildren, and she told them the story. She told them about the attack, about the long exile, about the return and the war and the trial and the restoration. Why did the council do it? One of her grandchildren asked. Why did they kill everyone? Because they were afraid, Hannah said. Fear makes people do terrible things. They saw us growing strong, and they were afraid we would hurt them. So they hurt us first. Was it worth it? Another child asked. All the fighting? All the dying? Hannah thought for a long moment. Justice always has a cost. But yes, it was worth it. Because now the galaxy knows you can't exterminate a people and expect silence. Humanity bends. Humanity endures. Humanity remembers. And humanity will never, ever let this happen again. She looked up at the sky, where stars were beginning to appear in the twilight. Somewhere up there, human ships explored new worlds. Human scientists made new discoveries. Human families built new lives. The species that had been hunted to near extinction had become one of the galaxy's great civilizations. Not through conquest, not through domination, but through resilience, through determination, through the simple, stubborn refusal to die quietly. The cherry blossoms fell around her like pink snow, and Hana smiled. Earth was healing. Humanity was thriving. And the 9 billion who had died in fire and darkness had not been forgotten. They had been avenged. They had been honored. And their sacrifice had bought a future where such horrors could never happen again. The sun set over New Seoul, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Tomorrow it would rise again, as it had for billions of years. And under its light, life would continue to spread across Earth's surface, reclaiming a world that had been lost but never forgotten. Humanity had returned. Not just for revenge, but for renewal. Not just to punish the past, but to build a better future. And in doing so, they had proven that sometimes the greatest victory is not in destroying your enemies, but in becoming better than them.